Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug.Show. My name is Doug Cunnington, and we're getting an update from Olga today. So we talked back in May, and she had a goal of getting more traffic to her site and growing her business, which is fairly generic, but she had some specific goals. And we're gonna go through it. It's been a fairly eventful summer, so we're gonna hear about the work that she was able to accomplish, some of the results as well, and then what's coming up. So Olga, how's it going today?
Hi, Doug. It's going okay. I am pretty excited. I'm very happy to talk to you about what's been happening because a lot has been happening recently.
Awesome. So yeah, before we get into the business part of this, what's new with you? What'd you do over the summer? Any trips or anything interesting, or have you just been working a bunch?
To be honest, I haven't been on vacation for a very long time because I have been having so much work, and also I am finishing building the house, which is taking a ton of my time. So I hope my vacation will finally happen in October, maybe December, once I move to the new house and I have my own studio and I will start to live a normal life. So nothing other than work and standard running and sports and a
Sure.
bunch of surgeries because this year was crazy. I had to have a surgery of my elbow and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Well, I hope everything's healing up okay, and people will get upset if I don't ask you about the pigeon. How's the pigeon doing? Any news? I forget his or her name.
So it's Gerard in English. He's doing great. I had to close him on the balcony because I'm not sure if he's going to behave. But he had the chance to fly away, and he didn't. He doesn't want to leave. So he's like he keeps coming back whenever I throw him out of the window. He keeps coming back. So he's a like 100% my SEO assistant right now.
That's pretty cool. So you like tried to release him, and then
Yes,
he
I
comes
wanted.
back.
Yes, he once by accident I left open the window open and I was away and I got back home and he wasn't there, so I thought, oh, it's over. He escaped, but I think after 7 hours he came back, and since then he never really went anywhere other than maybe, like, I don't know, he was like walking on my balcony, on the verge of my balcony. So that's all he's doing now. Even if
Okay.
I throw him, he comes back. He just flies around and comes back. So yeah.
For the people that didn't catch the first interview, you have what I think we can call like a rescue pigeon, where he was an orphan. You nursed him back to health. I imagine you fed him with a bottle or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes, he was very small. Yeah.
Okay. What do young pigeons eat? I was imagining a bottle with milk, but I don't think
No,
birds drink milk.
yeah, I had to grind different types of seeds with some vitamins, and I was basically had to open his beak and put it there, and yeah, and this
Okay.
is how I was feeding him for, I think, 2 or 3 months, and after maybe less, 2 months, and then he started to eat on his own.
Okay. So like a real mama bird, you
Yeah,
spit it right into his mouth. Okay. I think anything else about the pigeon before we move on?
I think, yeah, we may invite him at the end of the show. I will open and he
Okay.
will come here. But now I'm not sure if he's going to be polite and like calm. He likes to show himself a lot. So
And the funny thing is I have like 10 more questions about the pigeon, but I know we should probably move on here. Okay. So you had a lot of things on your list to do over the summer. It sounds like you've been tremendously busy. So can you give us an update on what you accomplished and some of the results as well?
sure. So, starting in May, I think I decided to get back to writing regularly and adding new content to my website. And I did some keyword research. I was looking for frequently asked questions, and people also asked questions about SEO because I thought that I would record short videos answering those questions and also add those videos to my new YouTube channel, and at the same time create short articles that would answer those questions and would have those videos embedded. And I managed to record, I think, 50, but I think uploaded only 20, and so I added like 20 of those articles and uploaded 20 of those videos to my YouTube. And this is quite interesting because some of those questions like almost immediately ranked, and even if I type some of those questions, sometimes both my video and my article appear like on top or almost on top. So regarding this, it's okay, but the amount of work I've been having unfortunately slowed me down. So I have like those recordings, but I still have to like review them, prepare them, publish them. So with that, I am a bit delayed, but I'm getting some traffic from that, so that's okay. I also, I think, created around 5 or 7, if I'm correct, in-depth, longer articles, which I shared on Twitter in my newsletter. So I got a lot of traffic to those articles, including from Google Discover, because when we were talking in May, Google Discover was basically dead. It looks like it's coming back. I also did a thing which I think many SEOs would say it was a stupid thing, but I was restructuring my site. I added like the new section with my services because people were writing to me and they didn't really know what I'm offering. So I kind of restructured that. I created like the entire section with the / with services, and doing that, I also decided to add the Slack blog to all my blog posts, and I didn't have that before. So that, of course, included like adding redirects, and basically all my URLs of my blog posts changed. But I did that on purpose because I wanted Google to kind of recrawl, refresh, and I didn't lose any rankings, at least as of now. And I'm not sure if that's the reason, but a lot of old articles went back to Google Discover, even the articles that weren't in Google Discover before. So this kind of improved a bit. Also, I managed to, because I have around 80 something articles on my blog, I managed to update around 50 something of them. So I think this took me the longest amount of time, because like sometimes it's like 15 minutes, but sometimes it's 3 hours, because I was talking a lot about, for example, Core Web Vitals, Google Page Experience, and some things changed there. So I needed to like change the things I was talking about in 2020. I also changed the dates of those articles. I know that Google like knows the real publication date, but I on purpose changed some of them. I'm not sure if this is now removed, but I was playing with removing the publication date entirely and just leaving the last updated date. But I'm not sure what's now, because I was like changing it back and forth. So this is what I did for the site, and at the same time, I can say I started from scratch my YouTube channel because I almost had no content there. So I added a lot of short videos. I also shut down my SEOSLY Pro module, which was supposed to teach people about, which was teaching people about doing SEO audits. I shut it down and added and published all those videos on YouTube. They are now available for free because this module is going to be replaced by something bigger, which is going to be an in-depth, longer kind of course around SEO audits. So that's what I would say. I also managed to grow my newsletter a bit. I am getting close to 4,000 subscribers, which is I think a good improvement, because when we last talked, I think I didn't even have 3,000. So this is like a nice improvement with that. And is there something else? I also managed to grow my Twitter. I would say maybe I didn't grow it. It kind of grew organically.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it sounds like you've been pretty busy there. And in a very bad interview format, one thing I just realized is if people didn't listen to the other interview at all, we didn't help them understand what your site is exactly or who
Yes.
you are. So can you just talk a little bit about your site? Just 90 seconds or so, just to get people up to speed. So it's not a typical niche site. So what's your site all about and what's it called?
Sure. So I am an SEO consultant, and my site is basically the place where I talk about SEO. This is called SEOSLY. I started it 2 years ago because I have been in the SEO industry around 10, 11 years. And in 2020, during the pandemic, I decided to create my blog where I would talk about SEO and share my knowledge. I'm not sure why I did it so late, but yeah, I keep asking myself. So this is where I started sharing guides, in-depth guides, long guides, and this my site kind of relatively quickly started to get some traction. After I think 6 months, it was starting to get some nice traffic. People, SEOs like the famous ones who I had been following for forever, started to share, and kind of the ball started to roll. So I didn't really experience any sandbox. I didn't buy this domain from some auction. So this domain was simply free. It was registered before, but it didn't have any links. So it was practically a new domain. And yeah, I kind of skipped the sandbox, I would say, in this way.
Yep. Cool. And I think, yeah, that's a great summary. I was looking something up. The day that we're recording this is the week that the helpful content update is coming out. And I hopped over to I can't remember, it was Search Engine Journal or Search Engine Land. I feel like they all just kind of blend in as the same site for me. But I saw you published an article out there. So you're making the rounds as an expert, and you have been for a while. But the site's a couple years old now, but you really got started quickly. You didn't even have a huge number of contacts, as far as I know. You just started consistently publishing long form, really in-depth, nerdy content for SEOs. And then, I mean, it caught a lot of traction quickly.
Yes, kind of. I was doing, of course, my articles were based on keyword research, but I was trying to really beat those topics to death, and they actually started to rank. And this way, other SEOs found them and then started to share them, and I started to acquire totally organic links. So I think probably links also had a lot contributed a lot to this situation and helped me grow more quickly.
Cool. And you talked about working a lot. Can you share about how many hours per week, if you have to estimate, or if you can estimate how much you've been working?
To be honest, a ton. I would say usually I get up at 5-6 a.m. and I work until 8-7 p.m. So I take a break. I used to take a break for running, but I had those surgeries, so I had a break and a month break. So during this month, I basically only worked. Of course, I didn't spend all that time on my blog. I had an hour or two daily for my blog. The rest was client work, other work, SEO, actual SEO work. So it was definitely too much, but this is I am in that, I would say, place now where I need to work so much, but this is definitely going to change in a month or two. So I also worked including on over the weekends. So yeah, I had a totally free day on Saturday last week where I ran a half marathon. So that was a cool experience. I finally ran a half marathon after those surgeries. So
cool.
I work too much and I don't recommend that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know when you're in like the growth stage, like you kind of have to, and you don't have like a corporate job, like you stop doing any um
Yeah,
non-client work, right?
so I gave up. I had the so I'm a consultant to a company. Before last time we spoke, I was that consultant to two companies, and one of those companies was my former the agency I was working for like for 7 years. But I had to like finally make a choice, and I gave that up. So now I am like only advising. I'm a consultant for one company, and other than that, I have my own clients. So like SEO consulting, I would say 100, almost 100%.
Okay. And then, so part of this is coaching. So I want to let people know. So I'm going to ask a couple questions, and it'll blend back and forth where we hear results, and then I'll give some advice, and I'm supposed to. So sometimes people hear me give advice and they're like, dude, let people make their own decisions. But you asked me to do this. So just to make it clear, you
Yes.
mentioned, all right, you're working a lot of hours. You have built a very good pipeline for new clients. You have a big email list for the industry. You're getting a pretty good amount of traffic, which we'll talk about some of the results you've seen from all the work that you've done. Your prices are at a certain point, and you have a high demand and limited time. You don't have any other people working for you, as far as I know, right? So it's just
There is
you.
like one more person. Yes.
One more. Okay.
My
So,
husband, who's also an SEO. So there are the two of us. Yes.
okay. So little bit extra bandwidth, but basically, where have the prices gone? Have you continually raised them as demand has gone up? Are you at a spot where you need to be charging more? Have you thought about this?
That's a good question. To be honest, I haven't really. I don't think I did. Rose my prices very much. Maybe a little bit, but that maybe the hourly prices. Yes, they definitely went up. But when it comes to auditing, this is like stayed pretty much the same, because I think that from the start, I was charging probably more than a lot of people. I know it's not difficult to find an auditor on Fiverr who would do an audit for like, I don't know, $50. But that's why I kind of started immediately from higher prices. But I think yes, I am now at this point that I would have to like maybe not double, but increase them, because my time capacity is very, very low at the moment.
So yeah, I would love to see that. I was going to say, at least a 50% increase, but doubling would be great. And what will happen, hopefully, is some people are going to say, no, that is too far beyond my budget. Maybe you have a peer somewhere and you could say, you know what? I know someone who they have bandwidth, they charge a cheaper price, but it's not a good fit for us. And then you could just work with the highest paying clients. I mean, that is, one of the ways you can scale agency type work or freelance type work, is just raise your price. And because you put in so much time and you have the credentials and references and you've been cited in many other places, you do have the reputation where you can charge more and just say, this is my price, and like no hard feelings, but this is the budget that I work with. So if it works, let's do it. If not, and then people will say no. So it'll feel bad that there's like the rejection, but really you're rejecting them, is the way to think
Yeah.
about it.
Yes. I would say that one in maybe out of 5 people, 2 or 1 is able to afford my prices. So I'm kind of doing that already, because
Okay.
usually they expect like 2 or 3 times less.
Right.
So, and I am saying that unfortunately I cannot like do it for a cheaper price, because this is what it costs for me to do it, and
Right.
I can do it.
Perfect. So yeah, definitely something to experiment with as new leads come in and you're pretty much, you're at capacity, it sounds like anyway. Actually, you're beyond capacity, the amount of work that you said.
Mhm.
And how
It,
has it been not being able to work out? Because you're
it
pretty
was,
active. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
it was very bad because I've been like running for 15 years and I don't remember I had like a break longer than maybe, I don't know, 2 days. Usually I couldn't like even sit still for 2 days. And this time I was sitting still for 30 days. So it was my absolute personal record for how long I
Wow.
wasn't doing anything. So the first 2 weeks, I would say they weren't very difficult because I wasn't feeling okay because I had both because I had like one surgery, and the week after that I had the second surgery. So one was about the nose, the other one about the elbow. So I wasn't feeling okay. I was only like able to work a bit and watch. I was binge watching SEO, to be honest. Like for the first 2 or 3 days, I was like only watching, reading.
Yeah.
I don't think it's normal, but after I think 2 weeks, it became kind of, yeah. I was like feeling so my back started to hurt, like things that weren't like hurting started to hurt. So I started to walk a lot. So I was walking, and then I think after a month, I before I went to my doctor, I decided like I need to try running and see what happens, and it was it was okay, even though my stamina like went down like crazy.
Yeah.
So I ran a half marathon like last Saturday, and my time was almost half hour worse than
Oh, wow.
it was when I was like at my peak. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me about a new show that I need to watch, and I was like, "Oh, great! Is there something?" But SEO videos, I don't know. I'm not gonna binge on that. But that's rough. I couldn't imagine. I don't run very much anymore, but just like doing some activity. So yeah, I was hoping you were able to walk like once you got a little bit healthier and recovered a little bit. So that's good.
walking with my dog, yeah, saved me.
Cool. Okay, so back on track. You probably should raise some prices. It sounds like you're already like at a pretty high level, but you may play around with it and just see what happens, especially as you're like moving forward with some other projects. So let's talk about some of the results. You did quite a bit of work, maybe not as many of the short form SEO questions. I think your initial target was something about 200 or so, and you did about
Yeah.
60 or
So I
50 or
have a
so.
plan for 200, but yeah, but
Right. Well, they're always going to be there for
yeah,
you. So
they're waiting in the spreadsheet for me. Yes, and I recorded like 25%, but yeah, published like half of that. So
cool. Okay, so what kind of traffic did you see? And you were getting some traffic from Google Discover in the past, and I know that was part of your goal. So tell us about the
yeah.
results.
So let me quickly check. So when we're talking, Google Discover was basically dead. So starting in, I would say 2021, Google Discover basically disappeared because, like, I think around October last year, I took a break from publishing, or I was just publishing very rarely. So it went away. When I started to got back to publishing, it started to reappear, and I would say I was getting around 100, maybe less, clicks per day. Then, but at its peak, I was getting even sometimes. Let me check, even 2,000. So it's a huge difference. So, but then in, I would say, June, I was getting around 200. Then in July, 400. That there were a few peak days at the beginning of August, and in August when I got more than 1,000. So, but it's kind of like going up and down, but it got back. So, and new articles that weren't in Google Discover started to appear there. So I would say that that's okay. It's kind of happening.
Cool. And just to be clear, so that's the number of visitors per day from
Yes,
Google Discover.
per day.
All right.
Yes,
And
that's
for
correct.
the people that don't know, can you describe Google Discover, like how if people are just totally unfamiliar with it?
Sure. So if you have an iPhone, you need to have a Google, I think, Google app. And if you open this Google app, it's kind of suggesting you articles you may read based on your interests. So this is like Google telling you what you should read. On Android, I think you need to swipe left, right, and it's kind of there automatic built in. So I'm using iPhone, so I need to like just go there and then I see it. So this is like, I would say, a new form of SEO. I'm not sure if we can call it SEO because there it's simply based on what Google thinks you like. So I also noticed my site in my Google Discover feed a bunch of times. So that's funny.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. And it's just like a feed. So if people are like, hey, what's going on? It's like their news feed, sort of something like that. All
Yes.
right. Very good. And do you have any knowledge about your email list growth and where the traffic is coming from for most of that growth? Is it from Discover, from your YouTube videos? Is it just organic SEO, maybe a few of your primary posts or something like that?
To be honest, I would say that most of it is coming like from the sign up forms on my site. A huge difference, I think, it made when I added a pop up, because I wasn't using any pop up. I added it in, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and it actually like changed a lot. I didn't want to do that, but I built a pop-up that's not very intrusive, is small, you can minimize it, and it looks like it's doing its job. I also added like manually I manually inserted this box with a sign up for newsletter into the most popular blog posts. So I think I'm getting some traction from there as well.
Okay.
So yeah, the growth was relatively okay, like 1/3 growth in 3 months. And I started the newsletter in 2021, I think, January 2021. So like the growth is now quite okay.
Very good. Very good. I know. Yeah, with the pop-ups, it always makes sure signups go up. I took them off of my site for a couple reasons. One, just technologically, I was like, I don't want to pay for that service anymore, and I don't care that much. And then what I realized is, without a pop-up, the quality of the email subscriber is higher because they
What I
wanted
noticed.
to. Yeah. So the
Yes,
open
because
rates are higher. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, my open, yeah, this is exactly because I remember you were telling me this, and my open rate before the pop up and before double confirmation, because I also removed that. So before that, my open rate was 35, 39 even. Now it's around 20 something, 25. So it went down.
Yep. And
Like you were saying.
it's an interesting trade-off. And I tried this and experimented for a couple years, and basically it's exactly what you said. And there's some logic, there's an argument that, get everybody on the list that you can. Someone may actually become a customer. They might open that one email, blah, blah, blah. And then you can have a bigger email list and all that kind of stuff. And I just, at some point I was like, they're not opening the email. Like, they may as well not have signed up. They just signed up for the lead magnet or whatever.
Mhm.
And then it's just a waste. So I just decided to go the other route, where I only want people that are really interested and they take the effort to. But I mean, that's great that you figured it out, test it and see what works for you. So, okay.
I'm thinking simply about like cleaning my list a bit in some time, because I can just remove the people who never opened any email, something like that. So But I also heard that those stats are not necessarily okay. That I heard someone say that they had stats that this person never opened their email, and they wrote to them and they said that they are always opening their email. So I think I will have to figure this out, not to kind of do more harm than good to myself.
No, that is a great point. Also, the click-throughs are usually tracked pretty well, but the opens are not very accurate. Some people turn off the tracking pixel in whatever their email client is, so then the stats are off. So again, it's just another trade-off. So you can clean the list in the best way that you can, and maybe only look at the people that didn't click, and then keep. So basically, the people that are really interested. And the thing is, if someone always opens the email but they never click it, like, how valuable are they? It depends on what's in the email, but typically you need someone to click and go somewhere else to make a purchase or sign up or whatever. And everyone's business is different, but I, again, I'm usually just looking for the simplest thing, not that most optimized. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to clean the list. And if they really want to get back on the list, they can sign up again. Occasionally I'll send an email, not often, maybe once a year, where I say, hey, if you want to stay on the list, just click this so I know to keep you on the list. But yeah, I mean, there's so many people in the world that I'm like, if one person signs up and they don't read the emails and they never sign up for the list or something, then I'm like, I'm not going to worry about it. Or unfortunately, if someone signs up and it looks like they never click on one of the links, then I'll probably remove them anyway. And again, there's a lot of people in the world, so I'm not that worried about it. Just one person on the list, but I don't know.
Great point. Yeah.
Any of the solutions are fine. None of them are perfect. So, okay.
Sure.
Let's move on a little bit. You had a little bit of we'll just say an issue with some trademark and intellectual property. Can you describe the situation and let us know where it's at right now?
So the situation was a bit, I would say, harmful, because I discovered that my content, my blog post, which is very, very long, like 20K words, was basically turned into a book and was being sold on Amazon. So it kind of was, I wouldn't say it was a very nice situation, but it finally got resolved. And the lesson I learned from that is that if you are publishing a lot of content and you are giving this content for free, or even if you aren't, you should hire a lawyer, and this lawyer should help you copyright all your blog posts or your blog, and you can also register the trademark. So I am now in the process of doing that. The lawyer filed for the registration of SEOSLY trademark, and once I'm done with updating the content on my site, all of the blog posts will be also copyrighted. So if someone steals my content, takes my content in the future, then I will be totally protected. So I recommend everyone to do this, because I didn't really think about this before, and and they say that someone sooner or later will have such a situation. So
yeah, and so I'm not a lawyer, but I think when you publish it, technically there's an implicit copyright, but you're saying, take it one step further and copyright the blog. So I actually haven't heard of that. Is that just through the trademark and registration of the name SEOSLY, or is it an additional?
Different. Yeah, okay. Different. So yes, you have this kind of auto copy, something like that, especially in Europe. But even though I'm based in Europe, kind of my all audience is basically in the US. In the US, I get that, but it's not like I can do much except for having people remove their content. So Amazon removed that book, but other than that, nothing really happens. So if you copyright, this is a separate process. You simply copyright each piece of content you have, you can copyright your entire blog, and then you are entitled to a lot of, I think, damages if someone does that on purpose and monetizes that content. And trademark registration is like a separate thing that people won't be able to use your name, your trademark name in their content, or use your content that contains that name. So this is like two separate things. I also had no idea about that. So.
Okay. So the big advantage is like you'd be entitled to damages. So if you had the blog, or even that one blog post the copyright was registered in some capacity, then you could have filed a lawsuit, and then the person would basically have no recourse, right?
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Yeah, that doesn't sound very fun. So it's roughly resolved at this point, and you could just move on.
Yes, I think, yeah, kind of. I received a private apology, so I think, yeah, I'm moving on. I don't want to like keep this negativity going, so I moved on. I learned a lesson to protect my work and keep doing what I'm doing. I had a moment when I lost my motivation a bit to do what I'm doing, but it kind of refilled very quickly because I got a ton of support from the SEO community, like a ton, really.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. And I think, there's always like jerks in various industries. So they'll pop up occasionally, but it's good that it's resolved and you can just move on. All right.
Exactly.
So anything else related to that before we move on?
No, I think, yeah, that's all.
Okay. So in the sort of pre-interview, you mentioned some upcoming projects that you're interested in. And I think it's probably a good time to talk about like where you're spending your time, maybe the work you're going to be doing in the next quarter, and more importantly, like the next year or so. So what's kind of on your horizon? What are you interested in? Any concerns around those ideas?
Yes. So now I am like doing mostly SEO consulting and my and working on my blog. Moving forward, I want to like a bit change that. I want to, of course, do my SEO consulting, but I will also want to work on projects such as I want to create my SEO course, which I think I already mentioned, a course all around doing SEO audits. I also want to start an SEO podcast. I planned to launch it in September. We'll see if I manage to do that. And on top of that, people like a wonderful SEO community were encouraging me to publish my own SEO book about SEO audits, which I started doing, but it's like 3 huge projects, and I need to somehow still do the client work, the consulting work. So I hope I will be able to free maybe 50% of my time, and starting in September, October, like spend 50% of my time on those things. But I'm not sure if I manage to do that all of 3 this year. I would love that. We'll see how it goes. So my kind of concerns is whether I should be doing that, for example, on one platform. I was doing some research regarding what course platforms I should be using. I remember you mentioned Kajabi, and I noticed they also allow SEO, allow you to host an SEO podcasts. They also have email list. Now I'm using MailChimp, so maybe I could like have more things in just one bucket. It would be easier that way. So.
And there's a strong chance, depending on like what the tech stack would be with separate services, there's a good chance Kajabi will be cheaper, even though if you just look at it as one of those services, it'll be more expensive. But if you put them all together, it's usually cheaper for even like the more expensive, what word am I looking for? The more expensive package. So I think like the middle tier, and honestly can't remember how much I pay like monthly, but I usually pay annually because you get a little discount, and it's like $2,000 a year. So relatively competitively priced for, email, podcast hosting, the course hosting. With courses or products, you can have, I think with the plan I have, like 15 different products. So you can have, your big course, you can have small, even free courses as like little lead magnets to bring people in, to get them into the ecosystem. But, if you're on MailChimp right now, it's fairly straightforward to migrate that list over. You can export. It takes a little time. Like everything, there's going to be some migration headaches, but it's roughly manageable. And if you budget enough time and clear your schedule, when the things come up, you can fix them. And, it's nothing wrong with either MailChimp or Kajabi, but anytime there's a migration, there's going to be some little thing that needs to be set up or doesn't translate in the same way. But I would definitely take a look at that. Of course, you could go to like Teachable and just do the platform there, but I would definitely take a look. And like many things, I'm an affiliate for Kajabi, but I do use the product, and it's not for everyone, but if you're doing what you're talking about, having everything in one spot is great. And then it's very clean. There's no integrations you have to set up with Zapier or anything like that. And I think they even have a coaching section and a little bit of a community as well. So, it really does the job of many other tools. Of course, the trade-off is it's not best in class for a number of the things. I think it's pretty good with its funnel design and email marketing and the courses. The other pieces I don't have experience with, but I know of like everything, there's limitations, especially if you go with an all-in-one package. It's filled with trade-offs, but the advantage is it's all in one place, and the integrations work where, other integrations will break occasionally. So
sure. Good to know.
And so you have like, 3 major areas plus all the client work. Is there one of them that you are like more excited about than the others?
That's a good question. I would say probably SEO podcast, because I already kind of have my microphone, and I think it takes less work than video. But on the other hand, I'm also thinking whether maybe I should be recording videos, putting them on YouTube, and releasing them at podcasts, as you are doing, I think. So this is another thing I'm not sure. Doing just podcast would be easier. I wouldn't have to like put my makeup and stuff like that. But on the other hand, then I would like be able to produce new content on 2 platforms instead of just one. So sure. I think podcasts.
Okay. That would be, my vote as well. And once you get moving a little bit, it's much easier. So once you get some of the mechanics out of the way, it's a lot easier to just keep creating these videos and podcast. And I would recommend, even though it might look a little, the quality might be lower than you hope for the video in certain ways, it doesn't matter that much. I mean, honestly, on the YouTube side, audio is probably a little more important than the video. It's very odd because it is a video platform, but if people can't hear you well, or there's some weird noise or something like that, people they won't listen. I know I'm the same way, and I'll just bounce from the video. But the video can be grainy, it can be too dark, but if people can hear you and they are interested in what you're talking about, of course, then they'll check it out. The book, it's interesting. I think the book and the course, it's a lot of the same content, or will be a lot of the same content, right?
Yes.
Just repurposed in a different format, different context.
Yes. And in video, in the course, I think there would be videos, and while in the book, I would just, because people suggested that I simply publish the in-depth guide I have already on my site, but I thought that maybe I would like to like write more. So I will use that as a kind of starting point, but I definitely want to add more to that than there is already on the site. So this will be like, I think, a bit of writing for me.
Sure. For the course, I think it's pretty clear the goal would be to earn some money and monetize in a very scalable way. The podcast, that potentially could be the top end funnel. You're sharing knowledge. There's a lot of benefits to have a podcast. For the book, what's your goal on that?
I would say to be an author in the eyes of Google. I know people are doing that to get the knowledge panel. I think I'm having this knowledge panel sprout. So Google is kind of starting to. I may be able to claim that knowledge panel in some time. I haven't checked that recently, but I was thinking like about this in terms of authority. Not necessarily maybe huge sales. That depends. To be honest, I wasn't thinking about that in terms of monetization, but maybe there is some potential as well.
What's the knowledge panel?
It's this card you see on Google if you type someone's name, and on the right side you see like their picture and what they do. This is basically knowledge panel, which means Google recognizes that person, their name, and that they're an authority in some area. So I know that SEOs are writing books to get knowledge panel. So
Okay.
So kind of, yeah.
Gotcha. And is that one of the main things, to have like a book and then a lot of references all over the web? Is that the main idea?
Yeah. Then I post it on Google Books as well, and it kind of helps me overall with EAT, those authority signals, kind of. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and I would say, you mentioned the podcast being like one of your higher interest levels. So I would lean into that. And the great thing is you can do all this stuff and more, but you can't do it all at one time. So I would probably, some homework for you would be kind of map out maybe each one of the projects individually and look at what time you think you're going to have this year. I would say it'd be great if you can launch the podcast in whatever the next month or so, and work on that for, give yourself plenty of time, even a quarter. And then if you find that you do have more time than you expected, then you can start the process on the next piece and then go, same deal, give yourself plenty of time to work on it. What I would encourage you to do, because you mentioned like you're working a ton, I would encourage you not to fill the time that you just got used to working, whatever, 80 hours a week or more. Figure out like the right amount and then scale down to that point. It's very easy to just keep working and working. And you're like, oh, well, I finished work on these clients. I'm going to go ahead and fill that time automatically, and then you're just making yourself too busy for like too much time. If you have to, I understand that, but if you do have the flexibility to not do it, you'll get more rest and you'll feel better, and like when you are working, you'll work faster and smarter and have better ideas.
Yeah, so I was thinking like aiming at 6 hours at most a day. I think that would be like 3 hours before the workout, 3 hours after the workout, and I'm done. That's my plan.
And that's a great way to do it. And, you could figure out what work you like to do in the morning and which one in the afternoon. And, I've played around with that a little bit. And, some of the busy work, replying to emails, different things like that, it's great in the afternoon. But if I, do that in the morning, it can like derail the whole day.
Yeah.
And
I've noticed that. Yes.
Yeah. And I know that happens, but I still do it, once or twice a week. I'm like, oh, I need to look at this one email, and then I'll see another one, and then spiral out of control, looking at emails that are just, I shouldn't even open them, but I'm like opening them and then like making decisions. And I'm like, I should just delete the thing. So,
not the pain. I also heard about Sorry to interrupt. I also heard about this system that you can have like uh, buffer days, productive days, and focus days, buffer days, and free days. So this is, I believe, the system a lot of millionaires are doing, and I'm leaning towards it. It's just basically you work around three. You have 3 focus days per week or 4, and you like do all the stuff that's moving the needle for you, around 2 or 3 buffer days where you work on emails, stuff like that, and 1 day during which you do absolutely nothing. You don't even turn on the computer. So I'm also thinking about something like this.
Perfect. Yeah, actually that's great. My schedule, it does end up being kind of like that, except I just typically work like Tuesday to Thursday, and I divide days up differently, and usually maybe like a couple times a month I'll end up doing a half day on like a Monday or a Friday. Like if someone can only do an interview on a Monday or something, then I can be flexible. But yeah, and then if you can, so working 5 days a week is okay, but if you can, your goal should be 4 or 3 days probably.
Yes.
So maybe next year. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or anything?
I think, can you tell me about kind of your transition? What was it before for you? You were like working 80 hours as well. And how did you like come up with what you are doing right now with your
Good question.
system?
So at one point in time when I first started working online, I probably was working maybe 60, 70 hours a week. So I would, wake up early, do work on my websites and, do some research, whatever I needed to do. Then I'd work my normal full day. The great part is at the time I was already working remotely, maybe 50 to 90% of the time. So I had a lot of flexibility during the day, and I was able to, during downtime, I was able to work on my website more. So I would also work in the evenings occasionally and on the weekends as well. Like you, I was totally obsessed with some of the stuff that I was working on. So it was pretty fun, and it was no big deal to work over the weekends. I would like wake up early and even, work at 6 a.m. on a Saturday for a couple hours before the day got started. And then by the time I got laid off and started working for myself full time, I was already sort of tapering down, and I was high enough in like middle management that I actually delegated almost everything that I did to my team. So I had a couple meetings, and it was tons of free time. Then I worked really hard as I was growing the business, maybe for like a couple years, but I was still I think I was probably working like 30 to 40 hours a week then. Pretty normal, a little bit less than normal, taking days off here and there. And then as I'm also interested in the financial independence stuff. So as I move further into financial independence, where work is totally optional, just live off your investments, then I was like, okay, I don't even need to do this. So then you could choose projects that you want to work on or people that you want to work with, and then take it from there, which changes everything, because then you have to look at whether you would do the work for free or not, because you're not doing it for money. So why are you doing it? It's only because you would want to. So as I realized that, I was like, I need to take more time off. And it's really easy, because I do enjoy some of the stuff I work on. It's really easy to like come down to the basement and just like look at the computer and like do a bunch of stuff that I don't actually need to do. So it has been tough, because you're still thinking like, oh, I can do this thing and earn $2,000 for like a minimal amount of work. Like, why not do it? But again, I mean, I struggle with that, because you can do work and earn money and like produce something valuable, but then you could also just go for a walk and play with your pigeon or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
So,
That's kind of the thing I'm struggling with as well. And I also, regarding the project, I also want to, but I guess starting in 2023, I also want to create a bunch of affiliate sites. together with my husband. So we have a plan. He created a plan, but yeah, we lack time to execute on that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. It's like there's so many things like we want to work on, but like I said, you can do all of them, but you just can only really do a couple of them at one time. Otherwise, you'll go crazy. You'll get burned out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So I think we're at the end of time now. So we should probably do another update. I think maybe sooner than later. And with the recent Google update, which you could say just about any time of year, we potentially can get an update from you and see what you're seeing out there, or any advice that you have, if you'll join me back before too long. So any final words? Where can people find you, Olga?
So I am on Twitter at Olga Zareczna and SEOSLY.com. This is my website. So, and I have a new YouTube channel as well, SEOSLY. You just type SEOSLY, you will find me. And once I launch a podcast, I would like to have you.
Sure, yeah.
One of my first guests. So
kill me in. Very good. Yeah, and we'll link up for everything in case people have trouble spelling or pronouncing your name, because I know I do.
Tricky, yeah.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
So thank you. It was cool talking to you.